Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
This time...
You ready for this one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This time we are diving into The Memory Book by Harry Lorraine and Jerry Lucas.
Very exciting.
It is very exciting, but we're going to do something a little different with this one.
Yeah.
We're not going to go through the whole book like we normally do.
Right.
We are going to use this deep dive as a way to go back to first principles on one of the core techniques that we utilize on this show all the time.
I love it.
Which is back to basics. Back to basics.
Yeah.
It is loci and memorization.
Exactly.
And so we're going to do that by going through the memory book.
Yeah.
But really kind of pulling out those core concepts and explaining them.
Yeah, and I think this is great because, we talk about mind palaces and using this loci method, but we never really break down what loci is and why it's so effective.
Right.
So this is going to be a really great deep dive to kind of give that foundational understanding of why this technique is so powerful.
And it's funny because I think a lot of people already use loci in their daily life. They just don't realize it.
Absolutely.
For me, I always put my keys in the same spot, and if I don't see them, I know they're not in the house.
Or like when you're trying to remember where you parked your car.
Yeah.
You think back to the route you took and you visualize the parking lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even just like in my office, if I can't find something, I know I just have to picture it in my mind, and then I know exactly where it is.
It's like a mental map of your surroundings, right? And that's essentially what loci is. It's about leveraging that natural spatial memory that we all have to store and retrieve information.
And so what's so cool about the memory book is that they really break down how to do that systematically, how to take this innate human ability and turn it into this powerful memory tool.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is that they come at it from two very different perspectives. You have Harry Lorraine, who was this renowned memory expert, and then you have Jerry Lucas, who was this basketball star, who, used these techniques to achieve incredible things both on and off the court.
And he credits Harry Lorraine with his ability to graduate Phi Beta Kappa while studying way less than all of his classmates.
Exactly. He said he only needed to study a fraction of the time because he was using these memory techniques.
That's incredible.
And Lorraine himself had this amazing story. He claimed to have the worst memory in the world before he started developing these systems.
I mean, isn't that inspiring, though? Like, he went from having the worst memory to developing these groundbreaking memory techniques.
It just goes to show that anyone can improve their memory. It's not something you're born with, it's a skill you can develop.
So how do they do it? What's the secret sauce?
Well, the memory book really dives deep into the mechanics of memory training, and one of the fundamental principles is the power of association. It's about linking new information to something you already know, something that's already firmly planted in your memory.
So give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you're trying to remember the name Baker.
Okay.
You might picture someone baking a cake, or, if you're trying to remember the word dog, you might picture your own pet dog.
So it's about making those connections, making those associations.
Exactly. It's about creating vivid, memorable images that help you anchor that information in your mind.
I like that.
And the memory book provides countless examples of how to create these associations for all sorts of information.
And then they take it a step further with what they call the link system, right?
The link system, exactly. This is where things start to get really fun.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So imagine you have a list of items you need to remember, let's say airplane tree envelope and earring. With the link system, you would create a chain of ridiculous, out-of-proportion, action-packed mental pictures to connect those items together.
Like a story.
Like a mini-movie in your mind. So you might imagine an airplane crashing into a giant tree with envelopes sprouting from its branches like leaves.
Okay.
And earrings dangling from those envelopes.
Okay, so the more ridiculous, the better.
Absolutely. The more absurd the image, the more memorable it becomes.
Okay, that's kind of brilliant.
It is. And what's interesting is that even if you don't remember every detail of that crazy picture, the very act of trying to create those images forces you to concentrate and actively engage with the information.
It's like a mental workout.
Exactly. And that active engagement leads to better memory, even if you don't remember every single detail.
So even if I don't remember the earrings dangling from the
envelopes,
I'm still going to remember airplane tree envelopes.
Exactly.
Because I had to really think about it and visualize it.
And that's what's so powerful about these techniques. It's not just about memorizing information, it's about training your brain to be more attentive, more observant.
That's awesome.
And the memory book is full of these techniques and examples that really show you how to unlock the power of your memory.
So what if you have something that's really hard to visualize, though?
That's a great question.
Like, what if it's an abstract concept or...
Like the state of Minnesota.
Right, or a name or something.
Yeah, that's where substitute words come in.
Substitute words. I like it.
So let's take the example of Minnesota.
Okay.
Instead of trying to picture the state itself, you might imagine a mini-soda.
Okay.
Which sounds like Minnesota.
So it's like a word that's easier to visualize?
Exactly. It's a substitute that helps you create that vivid image.
I like that.
And then you can link that substitute word to other images using the link system to create these elaborate memory chains.
So it's like a whole system.
It is a system.
Yeah.
And the memory book walks you through how to use it for all sorts of information, from names and faces to historical dates to foreign language vocabulary.
This is incredible. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. This is just the beginning.
There's so much more to uncover.
In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore even more advanced techniques like the PEG system and how to apply all this to remembering numbers, names, and even historical dates.
I can't wait. I am ready to become a memory master.
Me too. Let's do it.
All right, we'll be back. All right, so we're back.
All right.
And we've been talking about association
and
the link system.
Right.
But I want to bring up something that I think is really fascinating. That is that interest and challenge are really powerful motivators for memory.
So you're saying if I'm interested in something, I'm more likely to remember it.
Exactly. If you're genuinely curious about something or you find it fascinating, your brain is naturally going to pay more attention.
Right.
And that leads to better encoding of that information.
Okay, what about the challenge part? How does that fit in?
Well, the book tells this great story about Jerry Lucas and Wilt Chamberlain. They were at a rehearsal for the Steve Allen Show.
Okay.
And somebody dared Wilt Chamberlain to jump up and touch this high ledge. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain, the basketball player, he was like, what, 7 feet tall?
He was huge.
You think you could reach anything?
Right.
Okay.
But he actually declined. He said it served no purpose.
Oh, he's like, I'm not going to waste my energy on something that doesn't have a gun.
Exactly. But later during a basketball game, he effortlessly leaped to grab a rebound, demonstrating immense effort and energy.
Right.
Because there was a purpose behind it.
You had a goal.
Exactly.
So it's not just about being able to do something, it's about having the motivation.
Precisely. And that's why I think it's so important to make memory techniques engaging and fun.
Yeah.
It's not about boring rote memorization.
Right, you got to make it like a game.
Exactly.
Like we were talking about with those crazy images.
Yes.
Are there any other kind of guidelines or rules to make those images even more effective?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The book lays out some key principles like out of proportion exaggeration in action.
Yeah, okay. Break it down for me.
Okay, so out of proportion means make those images larger than life, you know? Think big, bold, and exaggerated.
Okay.
Exaggeration kind of goes hand in hand with that, you know? Like if you're picturing a tree in an envelope.
Yeah.
Instead of just picturing a regular tree, picture a gigantic tree bursting through a mountain.
Wow.
Right, with millions of envelopes raining down like confetti.
Okay, so make it epic.
Epic, exactly.
Okay.
And then action. Action is key because it triggers stronger neural connections in our brains.
Okay.
So instead of just picturing a basketball and a salami,
you
might imagine a basketball player dunking a giant salami through a flaming hoop.
I love that.
Right?
Okay.
It's about creating these absurd mental stories.
So not just passively visualizing.
No.
But like actively creating this story in my head.
Yes, exactly. And the book highlights that this active engagement, this effort you put into creating those images, actually strengthens your observation skills and your focus.
It's like a mental workout.
It is a mental workout. And even if you don't remember every single detail of that crazy picture, the process itself is beneficial for your brain.
So I'm training my brain to be more focused.
Yes.
More observant.
Exactly.
I like
And what's fascinating is it goes beyond just memorizing lists.
Okay.
The authors argue that you can apply these techniques to remembering anything.
Anything.
Even abstract concepts and complex ideas.
Really?
Yeah.
So this isn't just about like remembering my groceries.
No, no, no.
Or errands.
Yeah,
or whatever.
it goes way beyond that.
I could use this for speeches, presentations, study material.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The book delves into how to use these techniques to remember speeches, foreign language, vocabulary names and faces, and even historical dates.
My mind is blown.
It's powerful stuff.
Okay, but break it down for me. Like, how would I actually use this to remember a speech, for example?
Okay, so instead of trying to memorize the entire speech word for word,
Right.
you would identify keywords or phrases from each section, and then you would link those keywords together using the link system.
So each keyword would trigger the next thought in the sequence.
Exactly. It's like a chain reaction.
That's cool.
And then for foreign language vocabulary, you could use the substitute word technique to find a word or phrase in your native language that sounds similar to the foreign word
Okay.
and is easy to visualize.
So it's like I'm creating a bridge
A mental bridge.
between the two languages.
Exactly.
So I can remember both the pronunciation and the meaning.
Yeah, the book gives a great example for the Portuguese word for clams, a mess.
I'm a Hess.
Okay. They suggest imagining a clam covered in mud and saying, "What a mess you is."
What a mess you is. That's hilarious.
Right.
And I can already see that image in my mind.
Exactly. It's memorable.
Okay.
And then there's the challenge of remembering names and faces, which I think we all struggle with.
Oh my gosh, yes. I am terrible with names.
It's a common problem.
It's so embarrassing.
But the book breaks it down into 3 simple steps. First, you create a substitute word for the name.
All right.
Second, you find an outstanding feature on the person's face.
Okay.
And third, you link those two together with a ridiculous image.
Okay, give me an example. I got to see this in action.
All right, so let's say you meet someone named Mr. Crane,
Mr. Crane.
and he has a very prominent nose.
Okay.
You might imagine a giant construction crane swinging from his nose.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
That is so rude, but I would never forget his name.
Exactly, it's memorable.
But wouldn't it be weird to be like talking to someone and then like making up this crazy image in your head?
Well, the book suggests practicing this discreetly, at social gatherings, meetings, or even just out in the world.
Okay.
The more you use it, the more natural and effortless it becomes.
It's like a habit.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about turning those fleeting introductions into lasting connections.
I like that.
Right.
So it's not just about remembering, it's about like building relationships.
Yes, exactly.
That's cool.
But what about those everyday memory lapses,
Yeah.
Like forgetting where you put your keys or your glasses.
Oh, tell me about it. My keys disappear all the time.
I know, right?
Did the book talk about that at all?
It does. It does. The book tackles absent-mindedness head-on.
Okay.
And offers practical techniques to combat those everyday memory slips.
Okay, I'm ready.
So one technique they suggest is creating a heading picture.
A heading picture?
Yes.
What's that?
It's a specific image that you will use every time you set down those items.
Okay.
So let's say you always put your keys on a hook by the door.
Okay.
I do, actually. Perfect.
Yeah.
You might imagine a giant key bursting through the door,
Okay.
or the hook transforming into a key.
So it's like I'm giving myself a visual reminder
Exactly.
before I put things.
And the key is to create this heading picture immediately as you're putting the item down.
Got it.
Because delaying the association makes it less effective.
So it's about building a habit.
It is. It's about creating a mental routine to combat those automatic actions that often lead to absent-mindedness.
So it's like I'm training my brain to pay attention
Exactly.
to those little things.
Because often those everyday memory lapses happen because we're not fully present in the moment.
Right, we're just on autopilot.
We're not really paying attention to what we're doing.
So this is like mindfulness for memory.
It is. It's about bringing awareness to those everyday actions.
I love it.
And the book provides a lot of other techniques and tips for dealing with absent-mindedness.
Okay, awesome.
But I think the key takeaway is that with a little bit of effort and practice, you can overcome these memory challenges.
So what about things like historical dates?
Yes.
Or facts and figures?
Absolutely.
Can you use this for that too?
That's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
The book provides techniques for remembering all sorts of information.
Including?
Numbers, dates, and even complex concepts.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
It's amazing stuff, right?
This is incredible.
We're going to dive into those techniques. All right.
In the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. Okay, so we left off talking about remembering numbers and dates.
Right, because those can be tricky.
They can be so abstract.
They are abstract.
Yeah.
They don't have any natural imagery associated with them.
Well, like a tree, you can picture a tree.
Exactly. Or a dog. But what about the number 7?
Yeah, it's just like a symbol.
It's a symbol. And that's where the brilliance of the phonetic alphabet comes into play.
Okay, the phonetic alphabet. I remember reading about this in the book.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest, it seemed a little complicated to me.
I know it can seem intimidating at first, but it's actually quite simple.
Okay, well, break it down for me.
So the phonetic alphabet assigns consonant sounds to each digit from 0 to 9.
Okay.
So for example, the number 1 is represented by T or D sounds.
Okay.
2 is N, 3 is M, and so on.
So instead of trying to visualize the number 1, I would picture like a toe or a tie.
Exactly. Something that starts with that T sound.
And the beauty of the system is that you can then use these consonant sounds to create words that represent numbers.
So the number 14 could be tire.
Tire, door, even, yeah. All of which are easy to visualize.
So instead of remembering this random string of digits,
Yeah,
I can transform it into an image
exactly.
using these phonetic words.
And once you have those words, you can use the link system that we talked about earlier to connect them together.
So instead of remembering a phone number like 5834621,
Right.
I might imagine a lava flowing over a shoe, which is then topped by a ranch.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the book emphasizes that these words don't even have to be real words.
They don't?
No.
Okay.
They just need to fit the phonetic code and create a vivid image in your mind.
That makes it a lot easier.
It does.
Okay, so numbers I'm starting to get, but what
Yeah.
about dates?
Dates.
Those can be tricky too.
Dates are just another type of number sequence, right?
Right, it's just a bunch